Ladies and gentlemen, what we witnessed yesterday was nothing short of extraordinary. In a single Sunday, the Trump administration unleashed a coordinated media blitz across every major network. Education Secretary Linda McMahon torched the broken education system. National Security Advisor Mike Waltz delivered a crystal clear ultimatum to Iran. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem announced a 25-year low in border crossings. It wasn't random. It was a strategic reset of America happening in real time. From school choice to foreign policy, border security to economic revival, Trump's cabinet delivered a week's worth of wins in 24 hours. The mainstream media, of course, is in panic mode because they know America is back. So as we step into 2025, one thing is crystal clear. De-dollarization is accelerating. China and other BRICS nations fear President Trump, making them more determined to reduce dollar dependence. Their secret weapon is gold. China has resumed buying gold while underreporting their purchases. Why? Well, they recognize its global value and immunity to economic shocks. And gold is tangible, reliable, and manipulation resistant. This isn't about nations, it's about you. In a world of shifting economic power, gold is your hedge against uncertainty. Noble Gold Investments can secure your financial future, so visit nextnewsgold.com or call that number on the screen, 877-646-5347. And with a qualified account, receive 10 one-ounce silver American Eagle coins. That's nextnewsgold.com. Tell them Gary sent you. All right, let's get into this. Did you guys see this? Trump is pretty pissed, actually. This is the picture. This is the painting that was hung in Colorado. Does that look like Trump to you? Yeah, he's not too pleased by it. And this is what he posted about it on Truth Social. He says, nobody likes a bad picture or painting of themselves, but the one in Colorado in the state capitol put up by the governor along with all the other presidents was purposely distorted to a level that even I perhaps would never have seen before. The artist also did President Obama, and he looks wonderful, but the one on me is truly the worst. She must have lost her talent as she got older. In any event, I would much prefer not having a picture than having this one. But many people from Colorado have called and written to complain. In fact, they're actually angry about it. I'm speaking on their behalf to the radical left governor, Jared Polis, who is extremely weak on crime, in particular with respect to Tren de Aragua, which practically took over Aurora. Don't worry, we saved it. To take it down, Jared should be ashamed of himself. Yeah, look at that picture, man. That's atrocious. So President Trump, this is making waves today. He saw it. He's like, hell no, not for me. And obviously, you know, the leftist governor of Colorado, this feels like a hit job. Like they just did it just to hit his ego. And of course, Donald Trump fired back on Truth Social. But the administration is in full beast mode right now. Yes, one Sunday, every network, truth bombs the news can't handle, border, Iran, jobs, judges, education, a strategic reset of America live on TV. Yes, the lions were out. So let's jump into this. We've got all the breakdown. This is the roundup that y'all missed on Sunday. Now, this is Trump's education secretary. We cannot be last in the world on education, torching the broken system, saying it's our duty to restore excellence and end the globalist rot poisoning our school. Trump's rebuilding the foundation for our kids. Now, what's amazing is I was in the room. I was in the East Room when President Trump signed that executive order that began the dismantling of the Department of Education. I was in the White House when all this went down. History was made. I witnessed it, and we are all going to be a part of it. Now, listen.
Providing the best education. Our goal is to make sure that we are providing the best education for students in our country. We cannot be last in the world in education because we are impacting our national security. We are impacting those next, second, and third generations that are coming along. It is up to us and our responsibility to make sure we are giving them the best access to education. Our goal.
We cannot be last in the world, but that's exactly what Barack Obama, all the presidents before, Joe Biden, they just let the education system fall apart while the unions got richer. And that's why it's important to dismantle the Department of Education. Now, a lot of people have said to me, well, Gary, I see the comments, Gary, it has to be an act of Congress, right? Only Congress can dismantle the Department of Education. Well, that's absolutely true. But what if the Department of Education became the size of a closet with one guy processing Pell Grants in the executive building, right? Yeah, they didn't get rid of it, but here it is. Here it is. Just go in that door. Yeah, Joe's over there processing your Pell Grants. Okay. So that's one way they're going to get around it if Congress doesn't play ball. Education Secretary Linda McMahon says it straight. A D.C. bureaucrat can't help a special needs child better than a local teacher. Trump's team is deconstructing the top-down tyranny, replacing it with real solutions that work at home, not in a think tank.
I have the secretary. They're not going to be disrupted. And it really does rest from the federal level on the funding. So the funding is appropriated by Congress. It flows through to the states. But am I, the Secretary of Education sitting in Washington, going to have a view into a schoolroom where a teacher is trying to take care of a student with special needs? Or is that going to happen better at the local level where that teacher, in cooperation with the parents and the local school officials, has more opportunity to make sure that student's needs are taken care of? That's where it needs to lie. But if they don't have the funding, if they don't have the support from Congress to continue to appropriate that money, then that's where the students can really, fall through the cracks. They're not.
Yeah, see, it has to start at the local level. You can't rule from the federal government, especially on education. The teachers and the administration in those local schools, they know best. School choice or bust. Trump believes no child should be trapped in a failing school. McMahon says it loud. Parents, not bureaucrats, decide. It is war on government-run indoctrination centers, and Team Trump is winning.
Do you believe that the federal government has a responsibility to ensure that all children, rural children, urban, rich, poor, special needs, have access to quality education?
That is certainly the goal of the president. He has said that he wants to make sure that there is equal access to quality education for every student in our country, which is why he is such a proponent of school choice. He doesn't believe that any child should be trapped in a failing school, that we should have parents have the ability to choose where their children can be able to go to school so that if they are in a failing school, they have an opportunity to have better education somewhere else, that they have the tools to be able to do that.
Do you believe?
And do you want your child in a failing school? Do you support school choice? I certainly do, especially in the state of Illinois. Here we have Pam Bondi going nuclear on activist judges trying to run U.S. foreign policy. She says this is an out-of-control judge. 261 gang members are now in a Salvadorian prison, not on our streets. The Trump doctrine, follow the law and protect Americans. Listen in.
Any notice? This is an out-of-control judge, a federal judge trying to control our entire foreign policy, and he cannot do it. He dragged us into court on a Saturday without any notice, and then he's continuing these hearings. He's trying to ask us about national security information, which he is absolutely not entitled to. We are appealing. We will be in court Monday again. We will win. We will prevail. There are 261 reasons why Americans are safer today, and that's because those people are now in an El Salvador prison. And we are going to follow the law, and we are going to protect Americans. There's a reason why Biden's approval rating was plummeting because of the border. There's a reason why the current Democrats' approval rating is at 29%. People want to be safe. This is President Trump's agenda to keep Americans safe, Maria. It's basic public safety. Get these people out of our country as fast as we can. They're not immigrants. They're illegal aliens who are committing the most violent crimes you can imagine on Americans. Murder, rapes. Ask the parents of all of these young women who have been violently strangled, raped, and murdered. And we are going to continue to make America safe again because that's President Trump's agenda.
Yeah.
I mean, and what's mind-blowing is that you actually have Democrats and judges fighting to keep these people in our country. Like, why? Why would you want these people in our country at all? It's mind-blowing. But, of course, the Democrats do not care about your safety, clearly. And here we have, check this out, all options are on the table. Yeah, when they say that, and they mean business. National Security Advisor Mike Waltz delivers a deadline to Iran. Give up the nukes or face the fury. The Trump administration is done with shadow games. This is peace through strength, and Tehran just heard the sirens. Listen to this.
Factories, So the Iran-backed Houthis, they continue to fire at Israel. What is the last week of bombing achieved? And if you're holding Iran responsible, what's next?
Well, we've taken out key Houthi leadership, including their head missileer. We've hit their headquarters. We've hit communications nodes, weapons factories, and even some of their over-the-water drone production facilities. Just in the last couple of days, President Trump has decided to hit the Houthis and hit them hard, as opposed to in the last administration where literally weeks or months would go by with these kind of one-off pinprick attacks. And as a result, we've had one of the world's most critical sea lanes get shut down. I mean, these guys are like Al-Qaeda or ISIS with advanced cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, and some of the most sophisticated air defenses, all provided by Iran. So everybody understands the impact here. The last time one of our destroyers went through the straits there, it was attacked 23 times. 75% of our U.S. flagged shipping now has to go around the southern coast of Africa rather than going through the Suez Canal. And keeping the sea lanes open, keeping trade and commerce open is a fundamental aspect of our national security. The last administration was not effective. The Trump administration and President Trump have decided to do something much harder, much tougher, and what we'll see, but I think will be much more effective.
So the president said he's going to hold Iran responsible as well. Envoy Steve Witkoff said in an interview that Iran had responded to this U.S. outreach via multiple channels in regard to a letter sent by the president. Witkoff described it as an offer to Iran to create a verification program so nobody worries about weaponization of nuclear material. Can you clarify, is the U.S. seeking the dismantlement of Iran's nuclear program or verification like what President Obama put in place back in 2015 and President Trump pulled out of?
Full dismantlement. Okay. Iran has to give up its program in a way that the entire world can see. And this is, look, as President Trump has said, this is coming to a head. All options are on the table. And it is time for Iran to walk away completely from its desire to have a nuclear weapon. And they will not and cannot be allowed to have a nuclear weapons program.
So what's to say they won't do it in secret anyway, right? And then we've got this, the border wall's back and it's working. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem, this isn't Joe Biden's world anymore. 25-year low in border crossings, laws enforced, country secured. Trump's law and order legacy is back, and the globalists are shrieking. Why? Because they love importing third world nations into our country to destabilize it.
Department of Defense.
I want to ask you, border crossings, they're at a 25-year low.
They are. It's fantastic.
There are 6,000 U.S. military personnel working at the border now. That number could go up to 9,000 by the end of the month. How long do you have to keep them there if the numbers are already dropping like this?
We'll continue the partnership with the Department of Defense, but also we've got partnerships with Commerce, with the Attorney General's office. We're working every day with the Secretary of State. We'll keep them there until that border is completely secure, and we see all-time record lows of encounters. Our Border Patrol is doing fantastic work, but we're going to keep them there till the whole world gets the message that this isn't Joe Biden's world anymore. This is President Donald Trump's country where we have a border, where we have laws, and it applies equally to everybody. I think that is what is so refreshing, is that we're not picking and choosing winners and losers anymore. Americans have to live by the law. So do those who come to this country. You have to come here legally or there will be consequences.
Is that too much to ask, really? Just come here legally? I mean, imagine think about all the people that did come here legally. They followed the rules. They gained their citizenship. They paid all the fees or whatever they have to do to become a citizen. And then 20 million illegals storm the border, jump in line. I mean, imagine how you would feel. I'm not against immigration at all. Just come here legally. Like my relatives did before me. Like your relatives did before you. That's how it works in this country. Don't skip the line. And then we got this, Trump envoy Witkoff laying it out. You don't get peace without talking. Only Trump has the guts to broker peace in Ukraine. The media laughs. Meanwhile, he's negotiating ceasefires behind the scenes because that's what 40 chess looks like. Let's listen.
I met with President Putin twice at the direction of the president, because everything I do is at his direction. And they were productive meetings. We accomplished quite a bit. We opened channels of communication. President Putin told me at the first meeting that he had had no conversation with the prior administration, in particular President Biden, for 3.5 years. I'm not sure how anyone would expect an end to a conflict when you're not communicating. So we had a very, very good conversation, productive. We discussed real ways to end this conflict. That led to a second conversation. First conversation being close to 3.5 hours. Second conversation being in that time, in that space as well, 3.5 or 4 hours. That led to agreement. By the end of the second conversation, we had proposals on an energy infrastructure ceasefire and a Black Sea moratorium on firing on each other's ships. And these things had been on the shelf for several years. So I think that's commendable on the part of all of the parties. And this is at President Trump's direction. His philosophy of peace through strength brings people to the table to clear up misconceptions and to get peace deals done. And that's exactly what's happening right now.
It's been on the shelf for years. So they've had these tools in the toolbox for years. And instead of employing them, they just sent billions upon billions upon billions of dollars to Ukraine. Where's that money now? Nobody knows. No, there's never been an audit of any of that money. I mean, do you remember that report we did where they found that Ukrainian general with a duffel bag full of American cash? Where did that come from? God only knows. But finally, we have a commander-in-chief that understands the power of negotiating. The art of the deal on the global stage is happening in real time, and we're witnessing it. And we're going to finally have some real lasting peace. He's bringing these people to the table. Joe Biden just threw money at the problem. How much of that money went back to the big guy, right? And then we got this. The National Economic Council Director, Kevin Hassett, an economic rocket launch. After losing 110,000 jobs, we made 10,000 in 1 month, 9,000 in auto jobs alone. That's Trump's America. Industry rising, not crumbling. The comeback is real, baby.
Just got this Friday. Looking at the jobs report that we just got this Friday, you can see that it's already working. In just 1 month alone, after losing 110,000 manufacturing jobs, we made 10,000 in February alone. 9,000 of them were auto jobs.
Yeah, think about that for a minute. The economy is roaring back. Here's more. The numbers are way down. Border czar Tom Homan confirming the media's worst nightmare that Trump fixed the border. Yeah, remember the media kept telling you that it wasn't happening and, yeah, there's nothing to see here. No. I mean, Elon Musk had to go down to the border to see for himself. Okay? I mean, Kamala Harris only went to the border when it was convenient, when it was time to campaign, when it was too little too late. The borders are Kamala Harris. What a joke that was. Okay. Confirms the media's worst nightmare. Trump fixed the border. We're not just enforcing, we are dominating. He says we're not done until we have total control.
Like as you just mentioned, the numbers are way down. I mean, they are dramatically down.
They are down. The illegal entry is down 96%. What's most impressive is known gotaways. Known gotaways under Joe Biden, were on average 1,800 people a day across the border, weren't apprehended, weren't processed, weren't vetted. We don't know who they are, where they came from. That's a huge national security issue. Known gotaways are down to, double digits now. But, we're not going to be satisfied till that known gotaways down to zero. We're going to secure that border, make sure no public safety threats or national security threats cross that border and get away. So, look, we knew what would happen as we secure the southern border, the land border. Some of these groups are going to take to the maritime. They're going to take to the water. So we're, got the Coast Guard, you got CBP Maritime Patrol, we're going to have the Navy out there looking at the maritime. And again, it's just not about illegal immigration. It's about people who come to this country to do us harm. It's public safety threats, national security threats. You look under the Biden administration, we had over 400 people on terrorist watch lists that were arrested trying to sneak in the country, but we got 2.2 million gotaways under Joe Biden. 2.2 million people paid more to get away. They could have paid less money Just get to the border, turn yourself over to a Border Patrol agent, get released within 24 hours, get a free airline ticket to the city of their choice, get a free hotel room, get 3 meals a day, get free medical care, and get work authorization in 90 days. So why did more than 2 million people pay more to get away? They didn't want to be vetted, they want to be fingerprinted. We're going to secure the border, both the land border and the maritime border, to make sure these public safety threats and national security threats will get in the country. So we'll use these assets as long as we can till we get to the point where we have total operational control of the border and national security threats have no avenue into this country.
Amen. Finally, the adults are in charge. So this is what real leadership looks like. Trump's cabinet just unleashed a week's worth of wins on education, security, jobs, peace. Don't let the mainstream media bury it. Follow Next News Network on X, the only White House credentialed outlet fighting for the truth. And yeah, there's me outside the White House. And speaking of me at the White House, I just got an email from the White House minutes ago. Let's take a look at it here together. This just came in about 20 minutes ago. It is an executive order that was just signed imposing tariffs on countries importing Venezuelan oil. By the authority vested in me as president by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, including the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, 50 U.S.C. 1701, the National Emergencies Act, 50 U.S.C. 1601, and Section 301 of Title III United States Code, and in view of the national emergency declared with respect to Venezuela in Executive Order 13692 of March 8, 2015, blocking property and suspending entry of certain persons contributing to the situation in Venezuela, as continued most recently in the notice on February 27, 2025, the continuation of national emergency with respect to Venezuela, I, Donald Trump, President of the United States of America, find that the actions and policies of the regime of Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela continue to pose an unusual and extraordinary threat to the national security and foreign policy of the United States. The activities of the Tren de Aragua gang, the transnational criminal organization originating in Venezuela and designated as a foreign terrorist organization, and especially designated global terrorist organization, have intensified this threat. As highlighted in Proclamation 10903 of March 14, 2025, the invocation of the Alien Enemies Act regarding the invasion of the United States by Tren de Aragua. Furthermore, Venezuela's ongoing destabilization actions, including its support for illicit activities, necessitates further economic measures to protect the United States. In light of these circumstances, and to address the continued national emergency with respect to Venezuela, forms the basis for Executive Order 13692, and hereby orders Section 1 findings, Tren de Aragua gang, with origins of Venezuela, a foreign terrorist organization involved in terrorist activities. Oh, my Lord. I can't even read this stuff. Destabilizing the communities across the Western Hemisphere. The prior administration's open border policies facilitated the infiltration of the United States by members of Tren de Aragua, allowing these dangerous criminals to establish a foothold within the United States cities and prey on American citizens. So existing sanctions on Venezuela include those imposed in Executive Order 13692, EO 13808 of August 24, 2017. Of course, that was his administration, the first administration. Executive Order 13805, blocking property of additional persons contributing to the situation in Venezuela. Executive Order 13884 of August. He's like recalling all of his executive orders from the first administration. He's basically recalling them and declaring they all remain in effect. The actions and policies of the Maduro regime that were in the basis for those orders continue to pose an unusual and extraordinary threat to the national security. Okay, and he goes on to explain what these threats are: systematic undermining of democratic institutions, endemic economic mismanagement, regime's responsibility for the deepening humanitarian and public health crisis, the destabilization of Western Hemisphere. So on April 2nd, here's where it goes. The imposition of tariffs, Section 2. On or after April 2nd of 2025, a tariff of 25% may be imposed on all goods imported into the United States from any country that imports Venezuelan oil. Any country. So if any country touches Venezuelan oil, boom, 25% tariff. Think about what that does. If Venezuela is selling their oil to Germany or Namibia or Brazil, that means any products coming from those countries, 25% tariff. So that's going to choke all those countries, they're going to say, oh boy, we're going to get tariffs if we touch Venezuelan oil. And that's going to have a massive impact on the economy of Venezuela because no one's going to want to buy that oil anymore because they're going to be afraid of getting tariffed. April 2nd, that is the day. Imports Venezuelan oil directly from Venezuela or indirectly through third parties. So if it even goes through an intermediary, you're gonna get tariffed. Duties imposed by this order will be supplemental to duties on imports already imposed pursuant to IEEPA, Section 232 of the Trade Expansion of 62, Section 301 Trade Act of 1974, and any other authority. So, yeah, boom. I mean, Secretary of State with Treasury, Commerce, Homeland Security, all are authorized to impose the tariffs established by the order. So Donald Trump is getting ready to choke out Venezuela big time. So what we're seeing is the dismantling of the globalist agenda, and it has begun. It's happening faster than anyone expected. This wasn't just a media tour. It was a declaration of war against the establishment that's been selling out American interests for decades. And Trump's team isn't just asking permission. They're taking back control and reasserting American sovereignty on every front. So the real question is, and this is for you guys, you can answer in the comments. I will see your comments. And if you want to bring even more attention, drop my name in the comments because I see that. So here's the question. How will the deep state respond to this full frontal assault on their power structure? We're witnessing the opening salvo in what could be the most consequential battle for America's soul in our lifetime. Drop a comment below and get your Next News gear at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com and show which side of the fight you're on.